In the top stories, CMO shares how to protect self from coronavirus. Fisheries Department in St. Lucia gets cutting-edge equipment, and UN health body says containment is top priority in coronavirus outbreak. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020. I am your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Nationally, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws says although the Ministry of Health has the capacity to detect, contain and manage the coronavirus disease outbreak, our people must do their part by preparing themselves. She was at the time delivering remarks during a coronavirus update press conference in the Parliamentary Lounge at Government Headquarters on Monday. Dr. Laws shared measures that can be used to protect oneself from the virus, noting the importance of washing hands thoroughly for 20 seconds and avoiding close contact with persons with cold or flu-like symptoms.
You need to avoid shaking hands. Let me repeat that. In the event that the virus is here or gets here, you need to avoid shaking hands. We need to be innovative and use alternative means of greeting our friends and loved ones. Use disposable gloves when handling contaminated surfaces. Avoid touching your face, your eyes, nose, mouth. We subconsciously do this, and so we need to start practicing from now. Let me repeat. We need to intentionally avoid touching our face, our eyes, nose, and mouth.
The Chief Medical Officer also explained how critical hand hygiene is to staying protected against the virus.
Hand hygiene is very, very important. Actually, the evidence tells us that this is the best weapon against this virus. Hand hygiene. Even more so than using a face mask. Secondly, we want to recommend that you avoid close contact with anyone with cold or flu symptoms. In other words, you are to maintain a safe distance, 1 meter or 2. Remain 1 meter or 2 from persons who are visibly coughing and sneezing. Persons with respiratory symptoms should cover their nose and mouth when coughing and sneezing, either with a tissue that's disposable or coughing in your flexed elbow.
Dr. Laws said that COVID-19 is spreading rapidly across the globe, adding that the risk of having the virus hit the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis is very high. She said that her people stand a better chance of being prepared and protected ahead of an outbreak of the virus on the island. Meanwhile, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis will do everything in its power to protect all citizens and residents from the coronavirus. This was the statement made by Attorney General Honorable Vincent Byron Jr., who was also chair of the Mitigation Council and who addressed members of the media during the COVID-19 press conference on Monday.
I want to assure you and everyone in St. Kitts and Nevis that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis places the highest priority to protect our citizens. Nothing more we can say than we expect to do whatever it takes to make sure that every citizen is protected from this outbreak if and when it does come to our shores.
The chair of the Mitigation Council said it is important for our people to understand preparation is key and urged all not to panic.
I want to assure you that you need not panic. You need not panic because we have planned, we have prepared, and we continue to plan and prepare every day. We are training our people, our workers, to be able, in the event that anything untoward happens here, that we are ready to take it on.
He then used the opportunity to commend Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws for the efforts, research, and ongoing work seen by her and her team. As we wrap up, an autopsy has been performed on the body of 51-year-old Anthony Jules of St. Paul's. The autopsy was performed by pathologist Dr. Noadis Philip on March 2nd, 2020. It was concluded that death was as a result of asphyxia secondary to drowning. Jules was last seen fishing on a raft at Deep Bay at around 8:30 a.m. on February 28, 2020. Sometime after, the raft was seen overturned in the water and his body was found shortly after following a search. Investigations into the matter are ongoing. On the regional scene, the Department of Fisheries and the government of St. Lucia received high-definition video imagery equipment from the Center for the Environment, Fisheries and Agricultural Science, or CEFAS. Here's more in this report.
The Department of Fisheries has received state-of-the-art equipment from CEFAS UK as part of efforts to better manage resources. The Centre for the Environment, Fisheries and Agriculture Science has been working through the Commonwealth Marine Economies Programme funded by the Foreign Commonwealth Office. Marine scientist from CEFAS, Peter Mitchell, says the data collected so far from the equipment has revealed some intriguing findings.
We have found some very interesting results about fish populations, particularly in the Soufriere Marine Management Area versus outside. Populations there are a lot higher than elsewhere. There's very impressive, the diversity is quite impressive, and the numbers of fish as well. So this can now provide further support that the marine protected areas in that area are working, and that would perhaps stimulate further research into designating new protected areas.
Mitchell says the equipment, which predominantly samples the seabed, has revealed new information about the venomous lionfish.
The lionfish were observed within the baited video drops, and so one thing we have been finding is that lionfish numbers are particularly high, or the numbers are greater in deeper waters, which would be beyond where diving and spearfishing management efforts can operate.
Marketing officer at the Fisheries Department, Yvonne Edwin, expressed hope for the adequate handling of the equipment to shape the future development of marine research.
We're hoping to utilize this in our day-to-day, in our work program. It monitors the seabed, the habitat, and it would give an idea and help us to make decisions. So it's very important, and today just marks the official ceremony, but we have been using the equipment along with the project coordinators.
Representatives from the Department of Fisheries, Planning, Forestry and Agriculture and other related agencies received training in operating the marine equipment. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
The National Environmental Planning Agency in Jamaica is calling on the public to help identify several men who were seen on video killing a crocodile. Here's more.
The environmental agency says it became aware of the video on Saturday and is extremely disturbed by the contents. The video shows at least 6 suspected fishermen killing the crocodile. Ricardo Miller of NEPA's Ecosystem Management Branch says an investigation has been launched into the matter.
We are highly disturbed. This counteracts all the efforts we've been doing over the years. You know, we spent a lot of money doing public education activities, doing on-the-ground conservation work. And so we are very interested in pursuing this. As a matter of fact, an investigation has been opened up at all levels, and we are pursuing this matter to the fullest extent.
Just last week, NEPA was called in after residents in sections of Portmore were unable to leave their home after a crocodile was spotted. The reptile was photographed patrolling outside a residential home. Mr. Miller says the killing of the crocodile set the country backwards. They are endangered species protected under the law. Miller said the video also gives weight to the rumors about the underground business of selling crocodile meat. The men can be heard requesting the crocodile's tail.
Peace. We just killed them. Murder.
Under the law, perpetrators can be fined up to $100,000 and or 1 year in prison for molesting, harming or killing a crocodile. But penalties for the sale and consumption of crocodile meat can be up to $1 million.
When we do our work, our fieldwork, our surveys, we encounter people who keep giving us anecdotal evidence that this is happening, but it's very rare because these are underground activities, these are illegal activities, and they try their best to be done outside the purview of the general public. And so it's really hard getting information on it. So this video, you know, is testimony to all those hearsay that we've been getting.
Jamila Maitland for CVM Live.
On the international scene, the number of new coronavirus cases in China has dropped to its lowest number in 6 weeks. Here's more in this report.
In the Chinese city where the coronavirus outbreak started, health officials say there's been a drop in new cases for the first time in 6 weeks. It's closing one of Wuhan's 16 new hospitals that were built in January to cope with the increase in patients. But COVID-19 continues to spread elsewhere. The World Health Organization says 9 times as many cases were reported outside China within 24 hours. It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory. We have never seen before a respiratory pathogen that's capable of community transmission, but at the same time, which can also be contained with the right measures.
The 3 countries worst affected outside China are South Korea, Iran and Italy. Rome is preparing a stimulus program to help the country's economy. In Venice, the canals, which are usually packed with tourists, are deserted. Italy's tourism board reports more than 90% of travel bookings have been cancelled in the capital. Scientists in the United States are racing towards finding a vaccine. President Donald Trump told pharmaceutical bosses he wants results within months.
Today we're meeting with the pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies, the biggest in the world, most prestigious, the ones that get down to the bottom line very quickly, to discuss how the federal government can accelerate the development of vaccines and therapeutic treatments for the coronavirus.
US scientists say the rollout of a coronavirus vaccine is at best a year and a half away. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is claiming victory in Israel's general election, although it appears he has fallen 1 or 2 seats short of a parliamentary majority. Here's more.
Benjamin Netanyahu has spent much of the last year experiencing failure and defeat. Failure to hold together his right-wing bloc after the first election, defeat in the second, then indictment for corruption in 3 separate cases. Now at last, a sense of victory.
It's a victory against all odds. Our rivals said that the Netanyahu era is over, but we joined forces and turned the tables, and we turned lemons into lemonade.
After a campaign that plumbed the depths of negativity and dirty tricks, Netanyahu's closing message was that he was just short of victory and needed his supporters to finish the job, personally ringing voters from a roll of supporters who hadn't yet gone to the polls. For now, though, he appears to be just short of a majority coalition.
Within his party, he's not going to have any people that are detracting from him or challenging him, and now he has to try and see to work together. And it could be, and I've said the first election also, that a national unity government between Likud and blue and white could be a very real possibility, except this time, I'm not so sure who's going to be heading blue and white.
At Blue and White headquarters, there had been dark whispers throughout the day that things were looking bleak, after a campaign which had seen Benny Gantz shift slightly to the right, but failed to match the energy of his opponent.
I will tell you honestly, I understand and share the feeling of disappointment and pain because it is not the result we wanted. And if this will be the result, it is not the result that will put Israel back on the right track.
Gantz had distanced himself from the mainly Palestinian-Israeli Joint List Alliance, who might have enabled a Gantz minority government, but even their record showing with up to 15 seats wasn't enough to win them real influence.
What you guys have to really do is you have to delineate this line.
The result could well be more consequential for Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Netanyahu promised that victory would allow him to start the annexation set out under the terms of the Trump peace plan. Israelis might not have wanted this third election, but they did turn out in their highest numbers for more than 20 years. More than 4,000 people voted at special stations set up for those quarantined for the coronavirus, keen to cure Israel of its repeat election syndrome. Now for the consequences, including a possible Supreme Court battle over whether an indicted politician can legally try to form a government. In 2 weeks, the man on this stage goes on trial for bribery, fraud and breach of trust. Benny Gantz has spent a year trying to convince and ultimately failing to convince Israelis that they cannot be led by a prime minister under indictment. Throughout, Benjamin Netanyahu has been delaying, maneuvering and dodging, and now he has again prevailed. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, Tel Aviv.
And now for the weather. Present weather is fair. Winds are east with speed ranging between 7 to 16 miles per hour. Today's temperature will peak at 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Today you can expect partly sunny skies with a moderate chance of showers. Tonight will be mostly fair. Sunset today will be at 6:17 p.m. and the sun is expected to rise tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.